So I sent a letter to Melissa to thank for Driver Appreciation Week. So I sent them a little note that we appreciate them. I can't see Jeremy. I just wait for Beth to sit. You all set? Huh? Ready? Ready? Sue, are you all set? Okay. Yeah, where'd they go? I'd like to call to order the school committee meeting for Wednesday, October 14th, 2020. Can we all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Dr. Lance, here we can, a roll call vote. Roll call.
Certainly. Stephen Barry. Jeremy McGowan. Jessica Moninsky.
Here.
Beth Schultz.
Here.
Vice Chair Suzanne Salisbury.
Here.
Chair Noreen Poitras.
Here.
Student Representative Heidi Wynn.
Here.
Thank you. Adjustments to the agenda. I would like to move 12.2, vote to accept nomination of Democrat caucus of Andrea Mancuso as Ward 4 School Committee member, right after the adjustments. Do I have a nomination? Sue, second by Beth. All in favor? 5 approve.
Okay.
I'd like to invite Angela Holmes from the city.
You have to act on 12.2 first.
Oh, I'm sorry. Do we have to have a roll call vote on that?
Yeah, so read the nomination.
I did.
Read 12.2.
Okay, 12.2, vote to accept nomination Democrat caucus of Andrea Mancuso as Ward 4 School Committee member. Action item, first and final approval.
Make a motion to accept.
Sue Salisbury, second by Beth Schultz.
And it's a roll call.
Huh?
It's a roll call.
Roll call vote, Dr. Lancia, please.
Stephen Barry. Jeremy McGowan. Jessica Moninsky. Beth Schultz.
Yep.
Vice Chair Suzanne Salisbury.
Yes.
Chair Noreen Poitras.
Yes.
Thank you. 5 in favor.
5 in favor, none opposed.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Do you want her up here?
Yes.
Okay, now I'll invite Angela Holmes from the city clerk's office and Andrea Mancuso to come up, please.
Say that again.
That's
Where
fine.
would you like the oath of office?
I think that's fine right there
Right
by
here?
the microphone.
Can they see them on TV?
Yep.
Okay.
All right, why don't we stand here so they can hear you? Please raise your right hand, repeat after me. I, Andrea Mancuso,
I, Andrea Mancuso,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and of this state,
and of this state,
and that I will faithfully discharge,
and that I will faithfully discharge,
to the best of my abilities,
to the best of my abilities,
the duties incumbent upon me
the duties incumbent upon me
as a school committee member,
as a school committee member,
according to the Constitution
according to the Constitution
and laws of the state
and laws of the state,
and the Charter and Code of Ordinances
and the Charter and Code of Ordinances
of the City of Westbrook.
of the City of Westbrook.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm gonna have you sign. Thank you.
Thank you, Angela.
Come on up.
Come on up.
I feel like we should have some traveling music or
I
something.
know. Yes.
Right.
Welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Welcome aboard. Okay, so we're going to continue. Number 6, communications. Do you have any communication?
They are in your packet.
And in the packets. Student Council government reports.
Both of the schools, the Westbrook High School and the WRVC, are doing good on the hybrid schedule and continuing with the activities.
Okay, thank you. Public participation for agenda items only. Do we have anyone in the audience? Okay. Dr. Lancia, Superintendent's report, please.
Thank you, Mrs. Poitras, and congratulations to Andrea, and thank you for joining the school committee to represent your ward.
I'm looking forward to serving. Thank you.
Great, we appreciate your service to the community. I do want to just update everybody on the situation we had last week, where we did have one positive COVID case at Westbrook Middle School. As I said in one of my nightly emails, that was the letter I never wanted to send, or the announcement I never wanted to send, but I suppose it's somewhat inevitable in this time. I would like to compliment all of our students, all of our families, all of our faculty and staff at Westbrook Middle School for handling that situation and handling that news so professionally and so seamlessly. When there is a positive case that's confirmed, both the district nurse and I are notified by CDC or by the city's emergency management, and we put our protocols into place that gathers the teams from the school that's impacted, the different departments that are impacted, and we also initiate the process of identifying contacts and how far spread could have been. That was initiated right away, and we had to make the decision based on communication that the CDC had with the individual who had tested positive, as well as the school's contact with the individual who had been tested positive, that it was necessary for us to close the building and to quarantine the building for the required number of days because of the potential risk of spread within the school community. I am pleased to say that out of all of the close contacts, there were no additional positive cases that were tested, so we're very, very relieved about that, very thankful about that. Also very relieved that the individual who tested positive is doing well and experienced very mild symptoms, if any, due to the virus. So very, very happy to report that situation, which could have been a lot worse, was relatively low in terms of risk. Very grateful to the City of Westbrook, to our Public Service Department for helping us with testing for those who were close contacts, as well as other members of the faculty, as well as other members of the community. I would like to remind you, when we identify a close contact, those are the people that have the closest contact with the individual who is sick, or the individual who has been tested positive. Typically that means being within 6 feet of that person for 15 minutes and having that kind of close contact with that person. We contact the close contacts who have been identified. If someone is not contacted, that means they're not a close contact. We did have a lot of questions, a lot of worries, a lot of concerns as to the extent of that. People were concerned if our buses had been impacted, or if sports teams, communities, sports teams, dance leagues, things like that had been impacted. Had they been identified as close contacts, they would have been contacted. And that's part of our protocol. We contact the people who need to be contacted. So as difficult as it is to accept, I think no news is good news. If you're not contacted, that means you have not been identified as a close contact, and you're fine. Obviously, all of us would want to be in a heightened state of alert, and we want to monitor our own symptoms carefully, as well as the symptoms of our family members. Personally, I had a COVID test because I was in the middle school and could have been exposed to that individual as well. So we want to make sure we take care of ourselves. We want to make sure that we keep ourselves and our families safe, but we also need to respect the protocol that's in place and the privacy of the protocol that's in place. and the respect and the dignity of the individual who is sick, because after all, it is a human being who's sick, and we want to make sure that we are taking care of them and respecting them and their needs as well. So in the end, the situation worked out very well, and our school is back in session this week, picking up right where we left off, and again, there have been no further cases of COVID. So again, thank you to all of our students, our families, and our staff for working through that challenging time. In your packets tonight is our monthly teaching and learning newsletter. It's also being sent home in my nightly email tonight, as well as posted to the Thursday folders and the website tomorrow. I hope you'll have a chance to read through that, read about some things that are happening in our schools, so you can check that out. One thing I do want to mention that's happening tomorrow, as well as next Wednesday, we are offering a flu shot clinic here at Westbrook Middle School outside. It's a drive-by or drive-through clinic. It's facilitated by our partners at Northern Lights Home Care and Hospice. They're working with us, as they have for several years, to provide that for any student in our community who would like to have a flu shot. So forms are found on our school department's website, but it is tomorrow evening, 5:30 to 7:30, and then again next Wednesday evening, 5:30 to 7:30, at the bus loop at Westbrook Middle School. School is in full session. School is in full swing with our hybrid learning plan, as well as our remote by choice plan. Our hybrid learning plan, if you remember, we have students who attend school in person 2 days a week, and they're remote the remainder of the week. So students in Group A come in person on Monday and Tuesday. Students in Group B come in person on Wednesday and Thursday. Everybody is remote on Friday, and the days when they're not in person, they're involved in distance learning. Overall, things are going very well. We're certainly making a lot of adjustments to having fewer people in our schools, having fewer students in our classrooms, learning how to do our work both online and in person has presented some challenges, but those challenges are being met and problem solved every day. And I'm really proud of our staff for working through that, proud of our students for working through that as well. Learning how to go to school in an online environment is a little bit different experience. Heidi might be able to explain a little better than I can what it's like to perhaps take an online course for the first time, while there's also in-person learning happening. But overall, we're moving forward. We are moving through the programs, moving through our classes as we always have. I am also pleased that we're continuing our focus around social and emotional learning. That's foundational to who we are in our community. We want to make sure that people are well, and we're paying attention to that. So it's not just academics, we're paying attention to the whole child, the whole person, and ensuring social and emotional learning is part of our everyday work, particularly on our Fridays when we're remote, but part of our everyday work. In addition to our hybrid program that includes in-person and distance learning, we have our Remote by Choice program. Right now there are about 403 students in our Remote by Choice program, and I say about because that number does fluctuate every day, because some people are asking to join that program, although it's getting harder and harder to join a course that's in the middle of a course, because especially in grades 6 through 12, they're set up as courses that are semester-based, and it's the middle of a semester, so finishing that course might be more challenging, but we are considering every individual need, every individual request. The programs are organized in K-5 as, it's called Exact Path, where students are on an individual learning plan based on the results of an assessment that they took at the beginning of the program. They're working on literacy skills, they're working on reading and writing skills through that, and math skills as well as a number of our Unified Arts teachers, art, music, PE teachers have provided some additional lessons. In our secondary schools, grades 6 through 12, students are taking specific courses. And again, just as we would any online course, it has a beginning, it has an end, it has assignments, it has due dates, and our students are working through that. There are some challenges, especially with setting schedules and keeping yourself on track and on pace to get your work done. But we are working through those challenges. We're pleased that a number of our teachers will be offering office hours to support our remote by choice students, specific content questions. And we've also are about to launch our Blazes Helping Little Blazes program, which is our high school students who are offering tutoring to our younger students as well. Mr. Garrett at the high school has organized that, and he and I and Dr. O'Donnell had the pleasure of meeting with about 15 kids last week to talk about what that's going to look like. So we are working to build in additional supports to our Remote by Choice program, which is fairly rigorous in terms of content as well as in terms of organization, executive functioning. Kids are expected to be independent in those courses, although we are providing some means of real human support. It's not just a computer that's teaching the children. We're connecting them with adults as well. So overall, our learning programs are up and running. They're looking different. They're nimble. We're making changes every day, but we are moving forward. And overall, we have very good days of learning here in school and at home. And again, thank you to our staff for making that happen. Thank you to our families. And most of all, thank you to our students for making it happen as well. We really appreciate your efforts and the hard work that you're doing to make the school a reality, the school year a reality, even under these very different circumstances. A couple of quick updates on two of our major initiatives in the district, two of our long-standing partnerships and initiatives. One, Westbrook, continues to work throughout the community, throughout the schools, particularly paying attention to equity and to opportunity among all of our communities in Westbrook, but trying to work to engage all of our immigrant and refugee communities, our many communities that are involved here in the city. There was a very well-attended meeting online last evening for One Westbrook. Ms. Salisbury was at the meeting, Mrs. Schultz was at the meeting last evening. I think, Jessica, you were at the meeting. There's a lot of people to see around the Zoom screen. I really appreciate that. And the work we're doing with One Westbrook and with our equity work is really solid.
Yeah, I just wanted to chime in really quick. I talked to Peter about this, but the work of One Westbrook really, it's probably one of my most favorite committees that I'm on. And just the conversations that we've had over the last few years, and especially in this last year, the work that Regina is able to do, and not only the One Westbrook Committee as a whole, but the Parent Voice Committee, the Implicit Bias Committee. I've done a lot of work with Chief Roberts and a lot of work with parents, and it's been really great to go to those meetings and talk to the parents. They're so excited to learn more about the school district and what they can do to support their kids, and it's been really great to be a part of that. And can I go completely off script here for a second, just because that's how I roll? I feel completely awkward that I don't have a mask on, and I just wanted to say that I think the reason I'm not wearing a mask is I felt like I was socially distant enough and I was comfortable. So I don't want people to think that I'm just like going off the rails and not wearing a mask. I have one, and I felt like I was comfortable to not do that, but I just wanted to throw that out there. Anyway.
That's understandable.
Yeah, it just, I was like, oh, okay, I'm the only one.
I have trouble breathing with these lights on us
You
and
know,
this,
so,
so.
all right. Anyway, One Westbrook.
Thank you.
One of the
Thank
best
you.
things we got going on in the equity task force and everything. Thank you.
And we'll continue to push information out about One Westbrook. And those meetings are open to anybody. The work is open to anybody. And thank you to Regina Phillips, whose job title has changed this year. She's our Equity Resource Coordinator for the district. And you will be hearing more and more about the work in equity that we're doing here in Westbrook. Second, really quick update on the Westbrook Children's Project, which has been part of our community for 11 years. And I know Sue was part of the original steering committee and the Children's Cabinet way back when it was started as a major initiative of the United Way of Greater Portland. The Children's Project has changed over time, as every initiative does. I like to think of the Children's Project is kind of in its adolescence right now. It's continuing to grow up and continuing to meet the needs of the community. It is reorganizing itself right now around meeting social and emotional needs of our students. in the community. Paying attention to equity, paying attention to ACEs, which is the adverse childhood experiences, which range from trauma and homelessness and hunger to other things that impact childhood. It's a cradle to career initiative, so we work from birth through adulthood, but particularly this year with a specific focus on our youngest children, setting a solid foundation, supports not just in schools, but throughout the community and in their families. So there is a new coordinator this year. Her name is Jean Cousins. Jean is familiar to the city of Westbrook. She was the head of our Head Start preschool program for several years, a few years ago, and she's now the coordinator for the Children's Project. And we look forward to more information. I've asked Jean if at some point she'd come to the school committee to make a presentation of the work that we're doing, some revisioning, some goal setting, and there'll be some exciting things that continue to flow out of the Westbrook Children's Project, which really makes a difference, and it really helps our community shine, and really as a unique gift to our city. Over the last several months, as part of our community conversations that have been connected with One Westbrook, as well as some other community initiatives around equity and race and bias, we've been having some meetings with community members, with Chief Roberts, who's organized a number of meetings, and I've had a number of meetings with the chief and others as well. And the question has come up about what do our SROs do in our schools. We have two school resource officers who work in the Westbrook schools. One is assigned specifically to Westbrook High School, and the other is assigned to the middle school, but also looks after the elementary schools as well. And the questions come up, what do they do every day? I receive a report monthly from the chief that lists the different activities that our resource officers do. And I'd like to share a few of those things without going into specifics of their reports, because some of the specifics are confidential matters, but just a few things, just to give you all in the community a sense of what our SROs do here in the schools. In their role as a Westbrook police officer, they're employed by the city of Westbrook as an officer in the PD, but what they do in our schools honestly looks a lot more like social work than it does about police work. So just a few things. Our middle and elementary school officer in the first 2 weeks of school assisted with arrival and dismissals of students in our parking lots, in our lobbies, in our lots. He delivered or helped to deliver a lot of technology to our families, including charging cords and iPads and repaired items. He conducted walkthroughs through the schools to meet kids and to meet the community. He did investigate some reports of inappropriate video messages that students had received. So he filed those as reports and investigated those. He assisted some parents in helping students come to school on the first few days of school. He supported our nurses with assessments in their office. He collaborated with our school staff on safety drill planning and executing the safety drills. He conducted a number of home visits and wellness checks, especially of students that we hadn't seen yet for the school year. He found some lost backpacks. He brought some children to school if they had missed the bus or if they needed a ride later in the day. He supported families who were transferring to other school districts, helping to make those transitions smooth. He did address a violation of a school bus arm, a vehicle passed a school bus, so he had to investigate that. He was called out on some other police business, and I've got to find out more about this one, but he responded to the report of an injured cow. So I'll have to find some more out from Officer Lowe what that was all about on this campus. At our high school, our officer, Ferenkov, supports the high school and also WRVC. He also assisted in arrival and dismissals. He monitored hallways and lunches. He got to know students through walkthroughs. He checked in with students that were familiar students as well as meeting new students. He helped kids locate classrooms on the first few days of school. He collaborated with our criminal justice teacher at the vocational center about a project that students were initiating. He helped to lock and unlock bathrooms at the high school, and there are many keys to many different things, and he helped manage that. He advised students about a potential social media scam as a preventative measure. He redirected some students who may have been ready to skip a class or two, or might have been in the hallway a little too long. He collaborated with the co-principals and the counselors on the wellness of students, especially after the summer. He conducted a number of home visits. He assisted one teacher with one disruptive student. He assisted in the lockdown drills and the other safety drills at the schools. He coordinated some services, some outside of school community services for a student and a family. And he also was called out to do some additional police business during the day when all officers needed to report. So that's just a smattering of some of the activities that our SROs do every day. We really value both Officer Lowe and Officer Fahrenkopf as members of our school families, and I'll continue to report some of their activities, just to keep the community updated as to what our SROs do in our schools. Last thing I want to mention, and actually, if Blair Morelli, our athletic director, could come up to one of the microphones to give an update on where we are with fall athletics and activities, as well as any information he may or may not have about what winter athletics look like.
Good evening. So we're actually at the point where we're getting close to the end of the seasons. Golf has already completed their season. Cross country will be our latest running sport. Potentially, depending on qualifiers, will go as late as the 14th of November. Most of our sports will be done in the first week of November at this point. I believe I have maybe 4 or 5 more home contests. That's about it right now. Things are going well. We have the donation from Lowe's for the buckets. So if you see a game online, you'll see that our visiting team gets 21 buckets that are socially distanced 6 feet apart, where they get to sit on those, and they're all numbered, so they know what bucket is there. As well as every athlete that we have right now has a bucket as well for soccer games, field hockey games, and golf. We didn't give buckets because it wouldn't make sense for them to carry it around on the golf course, so they already have a bag. So long and short, the buckets are going with them to away games. They're using them as their spot to put their belongings and so on and so forth. So it's worked out pretty good. In addition to that, we have one of those Ghostbuster sprayers, if you will. So we are actually spraying down the buckets as well as our balls and any equipment that we have that's being used by more than one person. We're constantly washing jerseys, pennies, if you will. So we're getting those taken care of as well. And of course, we have gotten to the point where we don't use the inside facility at all right now. So everything's happening outside. We have converted a space in the concession stand area, if you will, below the press box as our outdoor athletic training room. So we have the people, anybody that needs services come right there. Our individuals are not using the locker rooms. They're changing in those 4 bathrooms that are out there, and we're constantly disinfecting those as well. So things are going really well as far as what we have for activities, the amount of kids that we have. The kids are doing great with masks. Have to be reminded they are kids, so we have to have that conversation from time to time. Our spectator situation, as you know, the SMA shut down, no spectators, so we have been doing pretty well as that as well. We do have people that do come and park, and basically as long as they don't make a ruckus, and we don't care, let them be there. So it's worked out pretty good for the most part. Trying to think. The sports that I can continue on, cross country, just so you know, there'll be a qualifier on Saturday. Saturday's qualifier, they'd have to determine from that point who would qualify either as a team or individually. The way the league is broken up right now, we had to change the qualifying procedure from what normally happens. Usually we have a regional competition, and that selects who gets qualified for the state meet. Because our league is so big, the MPA has decided to put it on the leagues to decide who we're putting towards the states. We had to divide it up because we weren't sure that York County was going to come online. Remember, our league is divided 10 schools from Cumberland County and 7 schools from York County. Last Friday, to everybody's surprise, York County came online earlier than we thought. So we're still running our Cumberland County qualifier this Saturday. We're going to qualify 3 teams and 1 individual from Cumberland County. We are then going to run on the 4th a York County qualifier, where they'll qualify 2 teams and 1 individual. So we had to break up the races just because the numbers were too big. 100-person gatherings can't get it done. That would be 119 athletes alone if we did just a boys race, and 119 girls would be running as well. So we had to divide that all up. So it's made it a little bit more confusing and challenging to get things done that we need to get done, but we're doing pretty good. We're actually getting close to the end now. And we're excited. The kids they got a season in, and honestly, if you asked me this a month and a half ago, I would have said, I don't think it's going to happen. So we're pretty happy that we've gotten this far. As far as the winter goes, we don't have any information from the NPA at this time. They are working on coming up with a plan with, I believe, DHSS, the CDC, the DOE, to try to come up with some sort of plan that we can actually see if there's a way to do the indoor sports. As you know, volleyball was one sport that was not allowed to be done this fall. Mainly because when we're inside, we have to have a mask on. I'm not sure how you can run down a basketball court with a mask on. So I think we have to wait to see if something happens from our guidelines on COVID-19 to see if it's something possible that won't be allowed to or won't have to wear a mask in that situation. So we just don't really know what's going to happen. It's really up in the air. I need to prepare people. If the numbers stay at 50 like they are right now, as you know, we're in phase 4, where the gatherings can be 100 people. If you have a capacity of 200, you can get 50% of that, 100, otherwise at 50%. But physical activity is still at 50. So we're still at 50, is what I'm trying to say for sports. So I don't foresee, if this stays the way it is, I don't know how we're going to have spectators. It's just not possible with the amount of athletes that we're going to have going. I really don't see how it's going to happen. Indoor track's going to be a problem. Just so you know, there is about 1,300 athletes in the SMAA alone for indoor track. The colleges, universities where we run have told us that they're not even considering opening up until sometime in January, and they're going to reevaluate that obviously as time goes on. An average track meet, we run about 5 of them, give or take, per day is the way it works. So 5 track meets, looking at almost 300 athletes per track meet, way over what we're going to be allowed to do. So I'm not sure that's going to happen. There's some ideas out there about virtual track meets. I honestly don't know how that's going to work either. There's talk about doing things in your hallways and then sending times over, but as you know, we're disinfecting in our hallways after school, so I don't see that being a viable option. So I don't know what's going to happen there. Haven't heard anything about swimming. I can't foresee wrestling just because of the close contact that individuals have, so I don't know how they're going to pull that off. We're waiting for direction, honestly. That's kind of where we're at right now. We've been in a holding pattern since March, as you know, so it's just been one more thing, hold and try to figure out what's going to happen. If we get to the point where they decide they're not going to have a winter season or they're going to delay that to further on, I'm assuming they'll do like some other states that are talking about, where they're just making some very condensed seasons and trying to get them all done in a row and waiting till they deem it safe for us to try to pull them off. We still don't know what's happening with football. We still don't know what's happening with volleyball. And of course, cheering plays along with that as well. Those are the 3 sports we were unable to host this fall. There's talk about a season sometime, somewhere. I just don't know how we're going to do that. And we're kind of at a disadvantage in the fact that we don't have turf. So fields that have turf will be plowing their turf to play football and do other sports. We can't plow grass. In fact, once it gets wet, we won't be on that grass. It becomes just a big mud bowl, or it's frozen solid, one of the two, during that time of year. So we'll be a little bit of disadvantage if that comes to that. We'll have to look for a facility where it'll actually host us. And we've already had some conversations with Deering, and of course, Portland's at Fitzy, so we'll have conversations with that as well to see how we can make it work. Moving on to the spring, to be honest, we're not even at the winter yet, so we just don't know what's going to happen in the spring. I foresee the spring, at the very least, if things stay as they are, would look a lot like the fall did. But I'm guessing. So honestly, it could be a reduced schedule, not as many meets, games, depending on the sport. And I don't know if they're going to forego championships or not, which they have done in the majority of sports right now. The only sports that actually hosted a championship was golf, which is already done, and cross country, which they're going to be doing on November 12th and 14th right now. I want to talk about activities. Ms. Salisbury, I didn't get your email till right before this, so I apologize. The drama was one of the questions that came up, so I'd like to address that right now. I've had conversations with Mr. Solomon. They are looking into doing a virtual one-act play. So we don't know where we're at yet. The details on what that would look like and how that would actually come to be, I don't know that answer yet. but I know they did look at pushing it later in the year. Normally, it would be a wintertime activity. So they thought about pushing it later. There's talk about doing it outside, in an outdoor venue where you can have 100 people, in that situation. So we just don't know what's going to happen yet with that venue. Now, with the stage 4 that we're at now, I don't know what our auditorium holds, but we could be at 100 people because I'm sure it's more than 200 people in an auditorium. So potentially we might be able to do a modified play, but that's relatively recent, so I don't know what that's going to look like.
Right.
As
Okay.
far as paying out stipends, we're going to look and see what it entails to pull off, what needs to happen, and then if it needs to be a percentage, we'll have that conversation. I just don't know what it looks like yet.
Okay.
That was easier than emailing, so thank you for letting me do that right there. Questions?
Thanks, Blair. Blair
Thank
has
you.
been,
Thank you.
I don't know how you've organized all of this, and the guidance is coming sporadically, if at all, and Blair's managing it very well. We're trying to keep as normal as possible. So like a lot of our activities mean a lot to our students, mean a lot to our communities, so as many of them that can be held in person are being held in person or virtually or a combination. We're trying to keep school as school is, not just coming into class and going home at the end of the day, because the extracurriculars are an important part of all of our school programs. So thanks Blair for keeping everyone posted. And last two things really quickly. Happy National Principals Month to all of our school principals. They are rock stars in this district, and I can't tell you, I am so honored to work among such an amazing group of school leaders. Thank you from the bottom of my heart, and on behalf of our students and our community, thank you for doing all that you do as our school principals. And it's also National Transportation Month. Happy Bus Driver Appreciation Week to all of our drivers, to Melissa Foy, our transportation coordinator. They're the first people that our students see in the morning. They're the last people they see in the afternoon, and they make such a difference. So thank you to all of our drivers, bus drivers, van drivers. We transport a lot of kids, and thank you, especially in this challenging year, but thank you for all that you do. And that's
That's it. Okay, thank you. On to chair reports. Education programs.
Yes, thank you. The ed programs, we just met at 5 o'clock. And we had a quick meeting because we're basically doing a lot of the same things. We got a great update about the remote by choice, which really, I keep saying this about a lot of stuff, but it's really amazing. 400 plus students doing remote and trying to recreate. I thought that was great what you said. That's, what is it, our third largest school, which has stuck with me. It's a huge program, a great undertaking. Dr. O'Donnell's done a wonderful job of putting that together and getting those families and students what they need to make that successful. An update on the equity work that you've heard a lot about, which is ongoing and really great stuff that's happening in our district. And we talked also about some social and emotional programming that we're doing to basically make sure that the kiddos are taken care of, and the adults in the district, to make sure everybody has the resources that they need. We appreciate that work. It's an integral part to everything that's going on right now. Much needed. I think that was it. It's a quick meeting. And then basically just in the information that was in the packet, the other thing we're getting updates on the CARES program and the ESSA projects. So we're getting a lot of updates on that. There's a lot of moving parts, but we had a lot of resources that are being used well to make sure that students and staff have the things that they need. If you want, I can move right into Finance Committee.
Yes, please.
Oh, that'd be great. Our last meeting for Finance was on October 7th. We have a great new accountant that's working with us. You guys all have met her, I'm sure, which she's doing a wonderful job of just getting us updated. The huge task that's related to the CARES money, and all of the federal money that we've so graciously been given that we have to spend by December 30th. She's doing a great job in getting those reports out for us so that we have an idea of what's going out and what's being spent. She's been a great addition to that committee, and we talked a lot with Blair about the stipends and sports and athletics. And we talked a little bit about how we were going to handle that, because that looked a little differently, obviously, with the hybrid schedule like Blair talked about. And then we are back to talking a lot about our monthly financials. The other thing that we did talk a lot about, and we have been talking about, that last year we had some issues with some audits, some deficit funding, and Heather's done a great job of really keeping us up to date on that and making sure we know where they stand. And really, the finance department, Dean and Heather, they've done a great job of the plan that we put in place to make sure, one, that nothing like that ever happened again, and make sure that those funds are brought down. So we've gotten some great updates on both of those. And our next meeting, so the ed programs, we met today, so we'll meet again on November 18th, and then the finance committee is meeting on November 4th.
Thank you. And just going off that finance meeting, we will start going live here at the PAC Center
Okay.
for finance meetings.
We're going to go live with the finance meetings.
Thank you, Sue. Personnel committee, nothing? Policy committee, Ms. Schultz?
Yeah, a couple of things a couple of issues. It's, even though we're living through stressful times, there are many issues regarding equity and justice that are coming up, and the policy committee has been addressing those, both by looking at our policies and also by having some pretty lively and healthy discussions. And I just wanted to share with the community about at least two of these issues. So it's just so you know that we're working hard at this. There was one issue with a sign that was a Black Lives sign, Black Lives Matter sign, and so what we did is we looked at our policies, and we realized that we have several policies that have to do with political solicitations and posting. And so because the superintendent did not approve this sign, it was removed. So we did follow through with our policies, even though we did have a very, as I said, lively discussion about that. And then connected to that issue was also something that was brought up at our last school committee meeting, which was about banning the Confederate flag. And so both of these issues are related to the equity work that we're doing in the district, and we're taking this very seriously. And we don't have a policy to ban a flag. We do have policies that have to do with flag display, and one is the American flag and the state of Maine flag. And we also have policies that pertain to a code of conduct, which is also banning, or not banning, but dealing with hate speech or things that are inappropriate and disrespectful. And then we also talked about, okay, so if you censor speech, where does that leave us? So where we decided to end this conversation at this point in time was to, and again, this goes along really well with the equity issues that we're dealing with, is that we would bring some kind of a formal resolution or formal statement that the school committee would make about justice, equity, human decency, and connected with that is also the need to educate everyone and to continue to do that because we're still learning. We want to do what is right, and if we need to have some guiding principles regarding our policies, then that would be helpful as we review our policies. So I wanted to make sure that I shared that thought process with everyone. And also we talked at our last meeting, September 28th, we talked about Title IX. And later on in the meeting, we will be looking at those issues. So we did have a discussion about, this was our second discussion about those policies. And Kim O'Donnell had talked to legal and basically saying that the policies that we have right now are strong enough to, withstand kind of the tightening of the policies that we have to do due to federal regulation. So we can talk about that a little bit more when we get to that point in the agenda. But we have spent 2 meetings pretty much talking about the Title IX policies. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. Yes, go ahead, Dr. Lancier.
Just to piggyback Ms. Schultz's report on the policy committee, lively discussions are a good thing in a democracy. They're a very good thing in a school department because that's how we learn. There is a statement that's working through some drafts to document the work that we're doing in equity and to document the beliefs that we have in our community. And part of our equity work that we will be doing is a number of audits, for lack of a better word, to look at systemic changes that need to be made. Audits of our curriculum, audits of our policies, audits of hiring practices, disciplinary practices. That helps our school system grow and to really examine ourselves through a lens of equity. So that's part of our equity work that's coming up. We're going to be learning how to conduct a successful audit of our practices, and that's the only way that our schools can continue to grow and change in response to the needs of our community. So I agree with you. It was a terrific, hard conversation, but a terrific conversation.
Thank you. Other committees, everyone all set? Okay. Old business? Anything for old business?
No.
No? Okay, on to new business. 12.1, Administrator Teacher Nominations. We have 12.1.1, Parent Partners for Prevention Program Director. 12.1.2, Kindergarten Teacher, 1 year only, Congan School. 12.1.3, Grade 4 Teacher, 1 year only, Sacarapa School. 12.1.4, School Psychologist. Do I have a motion? Beth, second by
Jessica?
Jessica. Do I have any discussion?
A question.
Yes, go ahead.
So
Andrea?
with respect to 12.1.2, the kindergarten teacher at Congan School and the 1-year contract.
Yeah.
So my understanding is that there were four kindergarten teachers at Congan prior to the district reshuffle of some students over to Sacarapa. And last year, there was also a need to bring in a kindergarten teacher at Congan for a 1-year contract. And then this year again, we're bringing in another kindergarten teacher, or that same 4th kindergarten teacher at Congan for a 1-year contract. Is there any sort of data analysis that you're doing to try and figure out if we just need a permanent 4th kindergarten teacher in Congan, and or is it just a budgetary?
I think that one had to do, correct me, didn't we have a increase in enrollment on that side this year for kindergarten as soon as new development on the Congan side happened, which brought more kids into the district?
Kindergarten's always a challenge.
Yeah.
Because, especially in this year, because our registration happened just before we had to go remote. With kindergarten, we're not always 100% sure of how many children are rising to kindergarten. So in terms of planning exactly, we're not always able to exactly plan. So typically, we may have to add a 1-year position in kindergarten. We do look at our multi-year averages to see how many classrooms we will need. As we went through budget season last year, as we went out into the summertime, we were confident in the number of K teachers that we had. We saw an increase in Ks over the summer at Condon School. And we'll continue to do that analysis, and we'll continue to look at that as we move into this coming year's budget request as well.
Any other questions? Okay. All in favor? 6 are approved, none opposed. Thank you. 12.3, request to approve the adjustment of the 2020-2021 school calendar regarding half-day for parent-teacher conferences. Action item approval. Do I have a motion? Sue, second by Jeremy.
Can you just explain a little bit
Baines?
about?
Yes.
Is that Peter?
Every fall, we have a half-day release for students to conduct parent-teacher conferences. And going into this school year, we had scheduled that for Thursday, November 5th. Because of our hybrid schedule and because of the Fridays already being remote, we'd like to move that day to that Friday of that week, November 6th. So Thursday, November 5th would be a full day of hybrid learning for our students rather than a half-day release for students. And on that Friday, we would have that entire day be spent toward parent-teacher conferences, so there would be no distance learning on that day at all. In addition, our teachers contractually spend 7 hours outside of their workday conducting parent-teacher conferences as well. So even though we're in some very different situations this year, it's essential that we hold those conferences, hold those scheduled conversations with families. So the request is to basically move that half day from that Thursday to the Friday and to turn that Friday into a full day for conferences this year.
Okay. One question. So shouldn't this be first and final, since we meet after that date for final approval?
Yes, yeah,
So
action item approval, yeah.
Sue and Jeremy, are you okay with first and final?
Yes.
Okay. All in favor? 6 approved, none opposed.
Thank you.
Thank you. 12.4, request to approve Westbrook School Department Policy, AC, non-discrimination, equal opportunity, affirmative action. Action item approval. Do I have a motion? Beth, seconded by Jessica. Do we have any discussions?
I just wanted to remind everyone that we needed to make some minor changes in response to federal guidelines and federal regulations. And the policy committee first dealt with this, I think, back on August 10th, and then we had a school committee meeting in August where we realized that we needed to make these changes. We weren't totally delighted about them, but we realized we had to. We really wanted to make sure that the policies that we do have are strong enough to protect students and staff. And Kim O'Donnell has talked to legal, and that seems to be the case.
Okay.
So I don't know if we want to review these in aggregate, because they're all pretty much related.
Do you want
So-
to put, so you want, which ones do you want to put in aggregate?
Yeah, I mean, we've reviewed them twice as a committee.
Yeah?
And they've come to the school committee once. We've done our due diligence in terms of checking it out with our attorney. So I would feel comfortable doing that, and but I do think we could discuss them if we needed to discuss them.
Okay. So my first question is, do you want to go from 12.4 to 12.8 in aggregate?
Yes.
Okay, so let me read them, and then I'll ask you and
Okay.
Jessica if that's okay. So you want to put 12.4, request to approve Westwood School Department Policy, AC, non-discrimination, equal opportunity, and affirmative action. Action item approval with request to approve 12.5, request to approve Westbrook School Department ACAA harassment and sexual harassment of students. action item approval. 12.6, request to adopt Westbrook School Department Policy ACAA-R, school discrimination and harassment, action item approval. 12.7, request to approve Westbrook School Department Policy ACAB, harassment and sexual harassment of employees, action item approval. And 12.8, request to adopt Westbrook School Department Policy ACAB-R, employee discrimination and harassment, action item approval. You're okay with that, Beth? Jessica, did you second? You okay? Second. Okay. Any discussion? So my question, you said all of these were reviewed by the lawyer? And what
Yes.
we wanted to change, okay? Do you want to talk on any of them, or anyone have, pull any out?
These are model policies that we're adapting, and adopting. And they have been, again, reviewed. They are in compliance and based on MSBA policies as well. So I did note, and I think Andrea may have mentioned, that one of the policies is missing a word. So we could make that change very easily. I don't know the right way to do that, whether we need to make that change here, or is that was just a typo?
Typos are correctable before they're published, if it's a minor typo.
Okay. So I guess I was wondering,
Do you know
Andrea,
which
did you wanna-
policy that was?
Yeah, it's in the ACAA-R under section H2, discipline and other actions. So this is the paragraph about discipline and other actions for students says the following are of the types. But when you go down to paragraph 3 for the discipline and actions of employees, both of those paragraphs start, the following are examples of the types. And so for consistency, it seems like the word examples should also reflect, since it's the same language.
And we'll make sure that's
I
adapted.
can't hear a word you said, so I don't know. I'm sorry.
So I think we need to either move forward with these or take one or two out and then have them go back to the policy committee. I guess I'm just the chair, so I would like to hear from other
Yeah.
people.
Is it just, if it's a minor?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear anything you said. So you said
sorry.
ACAA-R.
In
is that right?
ACAA-R under section H, which is page,
Okay. That remedies discipline and other actions.
yeah, it's page 9 of 11.
Yeah,
Under H, subparagraph 2, discipline and other actions students, where the district would be listing out the examples of the types of disciplines and other actions. Subparagraph 2 is missing the word examples, but it's the same language in paragraph 3. In the 2 starting paragraphs under subparagraph 3, it says the following are examples of the types. And if you look down a couple lines, the following are examples of the types.
Okay, so
It's
instead of
missing the
saying
word
are
example.
the,
Missing a word.
the following are, so I would think that that's like a wordsmithing thing, not a significant change. My opinion would be just to make that change, but I don't know.
yes, I agree.
Okay.
Delanne, Sarah?
Yep, we'll make sure that's adjusted. And that just point of order, that typically happens. Final wordsmithing and spell checking and everything else. Jane Barnes does her wonders before they are posted onto the website.
Okay.
But it just, again, point of, if there's discussion about the policies in aggregate, that would be
Yeah.
appropriate
Right.
now.
Yeah. Did you have another question?
I had a couple
Okay.
wording questions in the policies. So as we're talking about non-sexual related harassment, just the regular harassment, we talk about it 2 different ways. One with some legalese, and the other way that we talk about it is, I think, in a way that's much more understandable and comprehensible. So in ACAA, which doesn't appear to have page numbers, we list out harassment to say, it's offensive conduct based on race, color, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, religion, ancestry, national origin, or disability. When you move to the complaint procedure portion of it, we talk about harassment as individuals' actual or perceived membership in a protected category. And it seems like that the ACAA language is much more accessible, given we're asking students and their parents to be able to understand these policies, and actual or perceived membership in a protected category is pretty clunky technical language. So I'm just curious if there's a reason that the district would need to maintain sort of the legalese language when the other policy actually spells it out and would suggest that we mirror the language in ACAA-R to reflect the language in the ACAA.
If I may, Mrs. President?
Yes.
Typically, policies, either adjustments to policies, revisions of policies, or new policies, do come to us from Maine School Management Association, especially when they're connected to legislation. They are not necessarily all boilerplate or just, rubber stamped and adopted. There's considerable discussion. As Mrs. Schultz said, there were 2-3 meetings around the policies. Dr. O'Donnell has done considerable research. The language that comes to the policies has been vetted by legal, has been vetted by Maine School Management Association, which is why the language comes in the form that it does. We may or may not be privy to all the reasons why the language is there. That doesn't preclude us from making it more user-friendly or less legalese, but in some policies, especially policies that have legal ramifications such as this, we typically hold on to the recommended wording pretty exactly. Again, just a suggestion, if there's anything in this policy or any policy at any point that the board would like to send back to the policy committee, that's appropriate to send it back for more consideration rather than adopting it tonight. Policies tend to go back and forth to policy committee. So if that would be the will of the committee, then we could certainly have that happen.
Okay. Are you set with that answer, or?
Yeah, I have another one if that's okay.
Yes, go right ahead.
I'm
So-
having a terrible time hearing you. I can't hear anything you say. I'm so sorry. I don't mean to give you a hard time.
So I'm curious if there's any policy with respect to how parents are involved in disciplinary actions that might not be reflected in this particular policy, but applicable to these proceedings? Because it's clear in here that a parent or guardian could initiate a complaint in the complaint procedure, but it's less clear at what points in the process a parent or guardian would continue to be informed and involved. And so I'm wondering if there was any discussion about that at the policy committee.
No, it did not. It didn't come up, no.
Dr. Lindsay, do we have a protocol on that, or?
We could certainly, again, we'd send it back to policy committee to look at the cross-references. If there are policies that are inform another policy or connected to another policy, they're listed like at the end of ACAA, the last page of that, you see cross-references, to the different policies that particular policy is connected to in our policy book, or as well as other codes or legislation. So if there's a reference, it would be noted there. Off the top of my head, I don't know where that reference is. So we would have to do some research to see how it's referenced.
I think because there is a specific timeline listed that regarding the complaint and responding and 40 days, and so appeals made within 5 days. We have a process to ensure the safety of both parties. That seemed to me like there was already a timeline included. We certainly did not want to exclude anyone. I do feel like the policy has been vetted, and we did look at the model policy. So. I think we're covered there, but I think we need to recognize what I'm just saying, I don't think we want to get lost in the weeds here, given that we are responding to some federal mandates that may change. And so there's a part of me that feels like we are being compliant, we're being probably more proactive than other districts are to respond to the current administration's issues around this, and that we do have enough policies in place to protect both students and parents and the staff members. So I don't know how else to say it.
So you're basically, trying to understand, your basic question is if the steps that needs to be followed, that the student, if there's a complaint from the parent and they initiate a complaint, the steps.
I
and
guess
how-
my concern would be if the parent doesn't initiate the complaint and a student, say a 16 or 17-year-old reports up to a school employee who then is going to start this proceeding. I don't see anywhere in here where we're, as one of the steps, informing a parent or guardian that this is happening, or sort of what communication a parent can expect as part of this process. I agree with you, there's a timeline quite nicely laid out, and there's, specific protocols, and those are all compliant with the hundreds of pages of regulation that the school's attorneys had to distill into 10 pages. But as a parent, I'm not sure what I can expect from the school district when one of these formal complaints is initiated if it were to involve my child. And I think that's problematic because these proceedings in particular can have collateral consequences. There's sometimes the district attorneys involved with juvenile prosecution. There is sometimes civil court litigation that's going on, sort of ancillary to the Title IX investigation. So it feels like something important that we should be, there's not anything in here that even says this policy will be given to a parent or guardian if your child is going through this. And that might just be something that the district does as a matter of course. In terms of transparency and informed consent. That feels like something that's missing.
I think there was one point, because I believe that one of the attorneys spoke about it, again, this is policy. It doesn't supersede any law or law enforcement and how they proceed jurisdictionally. If that, as far as that pertains to, some type of harassment issue. They're really specific that this is just a policy. We still have to follow any other guidelines that if they're, the Attorney General or the police department or anything like that is involved in with it. And I think this covers the school and the students and teachers and everyone involved. There may be a way of wording it possibly to allow those steps to be more clear as to when the parents would or wouldn't be notified and who would be doing that notification. Whether if it's already gone to a legal proceeding, whether the police department is involved, I'm assuming they would be doing that, contacting more directly than anyone here at the school department, or before anyone here at the school department, if it's some type of a case itself.
Peter, I'm wondering if there's anything outside of the committee-approved policies and procedures that would kind of be a more granular walkthrough that would provide kind of those steps. I would imagine there's something like that might exist, right?
We with disciplinary procedures
Yeah.
and the notifications, absolutely.
Okay.
And it would be good to cross-reference that with these policies if there are some required notifications. If I may, it might be appropriate to not act on these tonight and ask the policy committee to reconsider some of these at the next meeting, if you feel that's appropriate.
I think that, if I could add my opinion, I think that we should move ahead and we should approve these as presented, and then have it as a review of our entire policies, that do we have something in place to address parent notification? But I think there's been a lot of work put into these, and they've been presented and reviewed. And I think, like you mentioned, if we get too caught up in the weeds of the what-ifs and in some of these things, that we might miss out on an opportunity to have these in place. We know that a lot of these policies, they're a work in progress. There's a lot of changes that have been made, and a lot of legislation that's gone into these, and a lot of work. And I think that by putting them into place, it's not something that we're putting in stone, but we're putting in something that's been vetted and worked on. And then we have, maybe the next step is to make sure that if we need to address something along the lines of parent notification in any of our policies, that we should do that.
Yes, we're meeting, next week,
Right.
so we can bring that
Can't
right
hear
up
you.
in the meeting.
Sorry. I can't hear you.
Beth, did you
I'm
want to say
sorry.
anything else? Go ahead.
Oh, no. I was just going to say, I just want to remind people that there is a timeline in here, and it says how to make a report, that's part 3. B is how to make a formal complaint, emergency removal or administrative leave, notice to parties of formal complaint. So, I feel like we're not ignoring the parents, we're not ignoring the people who are involved, and I hear what you're saying, Andrea, and I think that's maybe something that we could talk about at our policy committee to make sure, that parents do receive due process and are notified. I hate to say, but my sense is that people here are very professional and are going to do the right thing. I have faith that people are going to do the right thing. So, that's it.
Okay.
I had one last question, I
Sure,
promise.
go right ahead. No, it's all right.
So one of the things that is new, specifically required in the regulations, is that as part of the Title IX process, the investigator has to provide the evidence now to the parties, as opposed to just allowing for a review and an inspection. Previously, the parties would just be given an opportunity to review what the investigator was considering, and now it has to be affirmatively provided. And the regulations specifically reference leaving to the district the option of requiring non-disclosure agreements of the parties to guard against further dissemination of what, in these cases, is often fairly sensitive materials. And I'm just wondering if there's anything outside of these committee-approved policies that would speak to that, or if that is something that was discussed as part of the committee conversation.
Again, that was not discussed. It sounds like it could be something that could be addressed. That's, the evidence is something that's really important. Again, is this something that we want to hold up all of these policies over? Is this does this rise to that level of saying, okay, let's hold all of this just to make sure that the evidence is preserved and is sensitive, in a sensitive manner? So again, I'm one person, so I would like to hear from other people if they think this is an issue that needs to be addressed by the policy committee and brought back. It seems like the one policy that there are concerns about is ACAAR. And so, do we want to pull this out of the packet and address the issue of evidence um, I'll just say, I know that we have looked over these. They've been approved by, or reviewed by legal. They're model policies. Personally, I don't have any grave reservations. I certainly don't want to do anything that's wrong or that would hurt anyone. And I think because we wanted to do the right thing, we went to legal to see if our other policies were strong enough to withstand this tightening of the definition. And the feedback we got was yes. You know, I'm not a lawyer, so, you know, I don't know how in-depth we could get lost in a lot of policies, and I feel like there are other issues perhaps that we need to spend time on, so. Yeah, it's up to the committee.
I think we have a motion on the floor, so we'll
Yes.
go with that, right?
Yes,
Sorry.
we do have a motion on the floor.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, it's all right. Yeah, is that all your questions right now? Or are there
Yeah,
more?
those are the questions. I mean, I understand what you're saying, Beth, and that, like, this technically comports with the regulations, but there were several areas in the regulations that gave districts the discretion to put in policies that would be, I think, more protective for those involved in these proceedings. And so, you know, I think my personal preference would be for us to you know, maybe adopt this policy today with a commitment to go back and look at where we could within the Title IX regulations, because you've mentioned a couple of times, right, that the Title IX regulations that came out aren't really necessarily what many of us would have loved to be drafting school policy around. And I think there are some areas within even those Title IX regulations where we could craft a more protective policy for the school community.
I personally think these issues are worth visiting in a future policy committee meeting. I think it would be, I would advocate for voting on the policies as is for now, so we can meet our compliance deadlines, but I would like to explore these subjects more in a future meeting.
Yes, and we can possibly always invite or check in with our lawyers at Drummond Woods, see what they think.
You might have some
Or
model
there's,
policies.
invite another school
Yeah.
district might have a policy we can look at to go further. So the motion is to, first action is item approval for 12.4 through 12.8. Are there any more questions? So the motion stands, you still want to vote, Beth, and keep everything together?
Yes.
Jessica? Okay. All in favor? 6 approved, none opposed. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All good questions. 12.9, request to appoint a school committee member as a representative to the Delegate Assembly of the Maine School Boards Association. Action item approval. Jeremy, is that, you currently hold that position, is that correct?
I think that's kind of how it's defined, yeah.
Okay.
And it's an annual
Sorry,
appointment?
It's
I
the
can't hear you.
annual-
I don't know what you said.
Yes, I think that's how it's defined.
Okay.
Yes, it's the annual position. Do I have a motion? Beth, Sue?
I
And then
nominate
Beth.
Jeremy. Forever.
Okay, do I
One
have?
of those people.
So the motion is for, has someone nominated Jeremy for that position?
Sue Salisbury nominated Jeremy McGowan. Do I have a second on that nomination? Andrea? Does anyone else want to be nominated? Okay, Jeremy, all in favor of Jeremy McGowan? 6 in favor, none opposed for Jeremy. And action item. Thank you. Thank you, Jeremy.
Thank you.
I have some paperwork for
Thank you, Jeremy.
You have to
So
see
you- I have
Dr.
some
Lance
paperwork
here
for you.
afterwards for paperwork.
The delegate assembly meets next week, so I'll have to see.
Yeah, yeah. Definitely give me that info.
13, important dates, October 21st, 5 PM, ed programs, oh, that was today, I'm sorry, meeting. October 26th, 5 PM, policy committee meeting on Zoom. November 4th, 5 PM, finance committee meeting as a Westbrook Performing Arts Center. November 6th, no distance learning PT conferences. So that has been approved. November 11th, Veterans Day, no school. November 18th, 5 PM, Ed Programs Committee meeting on Zoom. November 18th, 7 PM, School Committee meeting, Westbrook Performing Arts Center. November 23rd, 5 PM, Policy meeting on Zoom. November 25th, Compensatory Day of Teachers. You like to get me. No school. November 26th, Thanksgiving, no school. November 27th, no school. Important dates.
Can I say something really quick?
Yes.
As the chair of the finance committee, I have a problem with the finance meeting being at the PAC, only because I struggle to hear what you all are saying. Legitimately have heard maybe 70% of what's going on, and as the chair of the finance committee, I am not comfortable with that. If we can do Zoom, if we can do Google Meets, if we can do an invite, we can send out that link to everybody in Westbrook and they can join. But I can't do it unless we're all gonna take our masks off and figure out like a bubble situation with plexiglass. I can't do it. I'm not comfortable with it. I'm happy to send out a Zoom meeting, we'll put it on Facebook, whatever, but I can't do it.
Okay. Are you Zoom meeting then?
Sure.
Okay.
Or a Google
So
Meets, or whatever it is, and
November 4th, 5 PM, the Finance Committee now will be on probably Zoom.
We'll use Zoom.
whatever
And,
works out the best. I appreciate that.
No problem. We understand the difficulty, so.
And I'm sorry if I'm constantly making faces at people and shaking my head. It's really, truly because I cannot hear you. So sorry about that.
That's all right.
You're not the only one, Sue. I'm like,
You're not alone.
Thank you.
Okay. 14, public participation on any school-related matter. Okay, I also like to say, happy Bus Driver Appreciation Week to all the bus drivers, Melissa Floyd being the coordinator. You guys are doing an awesome job. All the difficulties you guys had to do over the summer, putting the schedules together, rearranging schedules, getting the database up and working again. Dr. Lance here making a call, say no more school, remote learning. I don't know what they did during the day, probably cleaned. Appreciate that, truly appreciate that. All the administrators, principals, month or week? Month. Thank you for all your hard work. It is greatly appreciated. I know words are just words. I wish we could do more for you right now, but maybe this summer we can do something for the whole school district. We'll see. Would be nice, but thank you to everyone. And then I'm assuming there's going to be a Teacher Appreciation Week.
That comes up in May.
May, okay. But I'm not going to leave you alone, or the support staff. Thank you, everybody. Any announcements? Okay, request to adjourn. Do I have a motion? Jeremy, second by Sue. All in favor? 6 approved, 0 opposed. We adjourn.